Hello folks, this video is a little bit different. I want to tell you about a free self-care resource that I'm writing. It's called Emotional Anarchy, Surviving Self-Care in Capitalism Clutches. There's a link to it in the link to the Google Doc in the description. I'm writing it in Google Docs and I have made a viewing link so anyone can see it. It is a work in progress that I kind of think of as a living document because it's not finished and I don't know if it ever will be, but there are useful tips in there already and I decided that I don't just want to hold on to it indefinitely until I decide that it's perfect. I want to make it available so if anyone finds it useful, you have an immediate resource. I'm adding to it every night so far, but no promises that that pace will hold. I periodically toy with the format or go back and do a little editing, so be forewarned, this project is about utility, not aesthetics. It is a permanently rough draft that you get a front row seat to the development of. This resource is free, and it always will be, because I fundamentally believe that information should be free. This is a compilation of tips and coping strategies for various symptoms and situations, and I'm just going to read you the foreword here and you can decide for yourself if you want to check out the document. First, dear reader, I want to beg you not to read too far into the title of this book, or Google Doc as the case may be. Emotional Anarchy isn't an extension of anarchist theory, it's just a play on words with a pleasant assonance that nods to my leftist politics. This book is intended as a deconstruction of our self-care culture, as well as a collection of tips from one neurodivergent person trying to survive our dehumanizing society to another. This guide is not intended to treat, cure, prevent, or diagnose any issues. This is simply a guide to explain coping mechanisms for certain symptoms that some folks might find some use in. There are no quick fixes. This book won't cure your depression. It won't regulate your capacity for executive function. It won't dispel your anxieties. Any book that promises to cure you is gaslighting you from page 1. That's not to say you won't still learn something useful, but just to state the obvious, the self-help industry has become a predatory racket. It capitalizes on vulnerability and promises impossible results. This book isn't about giving you false hope or luring you into a cult-like mentality. The issues that drove you to read it will still be there when you're done. All I aim to do is let you in on some cheat codes for managing symptoms that you might not have been told about before. This isn't a replacement for more intensive therapies, but access to mental health care is a privilege. If you're stuck in a callous world that won't accommodate you, I want to offer you suggestions you might be able to use, but I don't want to trick you into believing this PDF will solve all of your problems. Alright, so far I've got 5 chapters in there, and it's about 25 pages long when viewed on my laptop. As your screen size varies, so will the page count. Chapter 1 is about executive functions, Chapter 2 is about emotional regulation, Chapter 3 is on health and hygiene hacks, Chapter 4 is on sleep, and Chapter 5 is about communication. I don't know how many chapters there will be, I just add to it as the thoughts strike me. If there's a particular symptom or scenario that I haven't touched on in there yet, that you'd really like to see some coping strategies for, leave a comment or message me on Facebook on the Anarchy and Discourse page. You can also email me at opulentopinions@gmail.com, but that is the slowest way of getting my attention. If your issue is something I know something about, I will definitely add my suggestions into the guide. If you do decide to read it, I would love to hear your feedback. This is something I started a few weeks ago, but I only had about 7 pages when I first decided to post it. Now when I log in and I see folks, as represented by cute little anonymous animals, in there reading it, it really motivates me to get more thoughts on paper, and the document has tripled in size in just a few days. So if you've looked at it, you have my sincere thanks, and I truly hope you found something useful in there.